Yes, good morning ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsyreplays and welcome back to the channel. Firstly, I do apologise that there is no sound in any of our replays today or any of our footage except for my beautiful Cockney London shitty accent, so I do apologise. So today we are looking at what I believe was the first ever overpowered tank in World of Tanks Blitz. And what I mean, we're not going to include the Keniotsu. I mean, the Keniotsu came before the IS-3 Defender. But we're not going to include that because it was a mistake. It was a mistake. The Keniotsu was a mistake. Just like me, I was a mistake. So we're not going to include that. We're not going to include the Keniotsu. But the IS-3 Defender, believe it or not, who of you was around to see the trailer of this tank, which I put at the start of this video? Not a lot of people was, and not a lot of people will probably, that wasn't around, will believe me that this tank was the first overpowered tank in World of Tanks Blitz. Why, may you ask? Well, it was overpowered for many different reasons. It was overpowered because the fact around the time that this was sold, the IS-3 was actually a very popular tank, mainly so because of the IS-7. The Defender event, it was an event where people could actually get this tank for free, and it was the first of its kind, really. There was not really any other tank like this, or obviously the IS-3, but this was the first kind of this is the first tank like with the Defender series and such like that, where they take a tank and they stick an autoloader on it. So what made this tank overpowered? We're going to use, that was my footage, which it was a bit quick, I was talking shit during that footage, but we're actually going to use Bushka's video. This is Bushka's first video on the IS-3 Defender, so we're going to use his part of his video to talk about the tank itself and why I think it was the first overpowered tank. Now, I haven't played the Defender for a good couple of years. Occasionally I'll play it making a bit of footage or something like that during a stream, but I haven't played it for, I would say, a good solid 2 years. In 2 years I may have played it 5 battles. That's because I don't like the tank no more. But yet I have over 60,000 games and I haven't played this tank for 2 years, but yet it's still my second most played tank in the game. Why? Because when this tank was released, it was insane. It was insane. Mainly because the armor profile of the tank, the armor profile wasn't the greatest. I mean, it's a Russian tank. It's got the armor where they just bounce, and it's so annoying because you think you can pen it, but you can't. It's got spaced armor, etc., all that crap. And what was annoying about the tank is when you look at the tank directly, it's not really red, it's pretty much grey, but you still can't penetrate it, and that was annoying. And the other couple of things that made the tank completely insane, keep an eye on the stats up the top, not the stats, the teams. So the teams up, the team on your team and their team up the top, where it says how many, what tanks are which and how many on each tier. So keep an eye on that, because that was the biggest part of this tank, and that was the biggest part of why this tank was overpowered. So when this tank first got introduced to the game, I mean, it's an autoloader. It's an autoloader. It still has like 7.5 seconds or so in between its shell. But people weren't used to that. People weren't used to tanks, heavy tanks in particular, doing the same damage per shot, but they've got 3 shells in their clip, and they wasn't used to that. So imagine rushing a tank like a J Panther 2, like here for example, and it having 3 shells. The problem obviously with the 3 shells, it does have a long reload, like over 20 second sort of reload. So you do have to take that into consideration. If you get rushed while you're on a reload, then you could be in a lot of trouble. But that's where you sort of play it. You don't let the enemy team know you're reloading, and that's the art of playing auto loaders. Don't let them know that you're reloading, unless you're directly shooting one tank and you're shooting 3 times. Then of course they know that you're reloading. But if you shoot a tank and you kill it with 2 shots, for instance, and then you go for another tank and you shoot 1 shell, they don't know that that's your last shell. They don't know that you're now on a 20+ second reload. And so imagine 2 of these in a platoon. Look at the team lineups. We're in a tier 8, or this is Bushka. Bushka's in a tier 8, and there is 2 tier 6s. This is why this tank was completely insane. Imagine tier 6s coming up against this now. It won't work. And the other thing because of the matchmaking back in the day, I mean, I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on it, I don't know if we've missed it, but we're going to try and look out for it. I've said it before in my matchmaking videos, where people complain so much about matchmaking now. Like, imagine these players playing it back in the day when it was +2 -2 matchmaking, and it wasn't just +2 -2 matchmaking. The matchmaking was all over the place, but no one moaned, no one complained about matchmaking back in the day. Now hopefully we are going to see, where are we? So perfect example, this game. If you look, you can't really see it, but on Bushka's team there's 2 tier 6s. On the enemy team there's 3. So they've actually got an extra tier 8, I think. Same as this game. Look, on Bushka's team, he has 3 tier 9s on his team. The enemy team, they have 2 tier 9s. This was the matchmaking back in the day. This was the matchmaking. And you could have 4 tier 9s, 2 tier 8s, and 1 tier 7. The enemy team could have 5 tier 9s and sort of 2 tier 8s. It didn't work as it works now. So when people complain about the matchmaking, just think about back in the day how the matchmaking actually was. Like, imagine this now. Imagine rolling into the game and the enemy team have got 3 tier 9s and you've only got 2. What? Oh my God, people will have heart attacks now. They will go mad. They will go crazy. They will write tickets. They will go on the What Blitz Discord server. Guys, look at this rigged matchmaking. They will go on social media. They will go on Twitter. They will Twitter it out. It will end up on Reddit. We didn't care. We did not care back in the day. If they had 3 tier 9s and we had 2, so be it. It just means more damage for us. That's all it meant. It really didn't bother us back in the day, not as half as it bothers us now, like all the newer players. So why this tank was just completely insane back when it first was released. And to think that when this first come around, you could get it for free. It was actually very difficult to get this tank for free, and I think there was only a set number. There was like 1,500 or something like that. So you can complete the event and you could get this tank for free, obviously, or you could gold the event and get it for so much gold, etc. So it did cost a lot of gold if you just wanted to gold the event straight away. But back then, again, I wasn't such a gold noob. I got this tank for free. I managed to get it. I can't remember exactly how the event was, but it was fairly difficult. It was still fairly difficult to get the tank for free. And considering that there was only sort of 1,500, I think there was only 1,500. I could be wrong. There could have been a little bit more. So yeah, we got it for free. Here we go. We've got another game. There's 2 tier 6s. 2 tier 7s. Oh no, this matchmaking is pretty fair, to be honest. So playing this tank in a platoon with another defender was just completely broken, and that is why if you look at my stats, if you go onto my profile in game and you look at my most played tanks, there's 3 up there. There's 3 up the top. There's the Death Star #1, which I'm sure you can all understand why. Then there's the Defender, as I'm explaining now why this tank was so good. And then there's the Lux, the tier 4, which was, I've already done a video, which was absolutely broken as hell. So these were my top 3. These are still my top 3 most played tanks, for a reason, because they was just fun. They were just fun. The Death Star was fun. You sit at the back of the map and dish out 6-7k damage with not even getting spotted. This was fun, just bullying those tier 6s. And don't forget, these actually come up against tier 10 as well, and you can hold your own against tier 10. I mean, this is what I mean by armor profile. If you look at Bushka is aiming at the tank, and yes, you can see shades of red at the front, but the rest of it is pretty much grey. And that's where it kind of tricks you into thinking that you can pen me, you shoot it, and it doesn't pen. Also, what we need to add as well with this tank, the penetration isn't great. I mean, the penetration's okay, but just load up the heat. If you've got credits, it's a premium tank anyway, so even if you shoot credits, you're going to earn credits. But it does the same amount of damage back in the day. So that is why this tank, I think, is the first overpowered tank in What Blitz. Let me know your opinion in the comments below at what you think the first overpowered tank in What Blitz. Obviously, you also had the IS-6, which was decent back then, but this one was the true overpowered tank. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm Meadsy. See you soon.